Welcome to our third episode here of Behind the Stand. Tonight we've got a couple of cool people with us. We got Sean Kennedy, our drum set player. He's not only a drum set player, but he is also a fantastic writer, a good arranger, and definitely one of the most well-rounded percussion educators I've ever met. He's taught me a lot about how to hit things and make things sound good. Anywho, moving forward with that, we've also got Mr. Chris Moore, who's our second alto player and one of our soloists tonight on the video premiering at 8 o'clock. I've known Chris for, oh my gosh, I don't even want to count the years. I've known you a long time. Don't even do it.
Okay.
I've known Chris for a long, long time, back to when I was at West Virginia University, marching in the Pride of West Virginia Marching Band. Such a great guy, a good teacher, a cool player. He resides in Jupiter, Florida. If you're in Florida, go check out one of his groups whenever we're out of this pandemic thing. They will not disappoint. I guarantee it. I've gone down there numerous times to work with his jazz band, and I've seen his choir in action. Superb. And last but certainly not least, the voice himself, Mr. Glen DeGeorge. He's our third trombonist. I've known Glen for a little while now. He is a fantastic educator, but he's also a really good guy to talk to and just actually ask questions about, like coffee. Talk to him about music. Talk to him about nerd stuff. We may not get to all of that tonight, but we're going to get to some things. So, gentlemen, thank you again, and welcome to our third episode here.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And cue the coffee.
Yes. Well, I did pay the electric bill, so that's why we're all here. Anywho, moving forward. So tonight, I got a couple of questions for you guys. I'm just going to pop them out there. And for those that are in the audience, watching and tuning in, if you have any questions, please drop it in the chat. My wife, our program manager, Elena Gardner, is going to send those messages my way. And if I don't see them, she's going to come running into the office and smack me upside the head. That may happen anyways. My name's John. Anywho, so let's start off with Sean. So Sean, you're an educator. You live here in the Philadelphia area. Tell us a little bit more about yourself. What do you do outside of, teaching the youths of America?
Well, by day I teach middle school level band right outside of Philadelphia here in a school district. And I have a private studio at my house, and I've been doing a bunch of recording since the pandemic hit. And I've gotten really good at using my previous rehearsal space as a recording studio now. So I've gotten the gear and I figured out how to use it. I have 4 wonderful kids and a wife who are also all musicians. So there's a lot of activity here. A lot of great music is happening in our home. And I just try to stay busy freelancing, arranging, and staying out of trouble, basically. So that's basically it.
I could relate to that trouble part. And if I'm not mistaken, you've been playing a lot with that up and coming trumpeter Jay Webb, at least up and coming to me. I've only played with him once on another project we did with the Philly Croc Jazz Orchestra. But from what I understand, you guys have been collaborating for a while, working on a new tribute project to one of the trumpet greats right now, right?
Yeah, I can explain that. So Jay and I became friends on social media a bunch of years ago. He was on tour with the Midtown Men, which is basically the Jersey Boys. And the guys who played the Jersey Boys in Broadway went on tour, and Jay was their touring trumpet player. And I was playing with those guys with the Philly Pops on a gig. And through social media, we realized we had so many friends and all that. Jay wasn't on that gig, but we stayed in touch. And over the years, we both found out we both loved Doc Severinsen. Like obsessed with Doc Severinsen. For me, a lot of guys in their 60s and 70s now tell me when they first saw the Beatles on TV. I'm too young to have seen that. But for me, it was Doc Severinsen and Tonight Show Band. I was so excited in 1987 when they released their first album, Volume 1, the blue one. I got that on cassette, then I got it on LP, then CD, then they had Volume 2, etc. So Jay had this idea to start the Doc Severinsen Tribute Band. And back in late January, early February of this year, we laid down 3 Doc Severinsen charts.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Sentimental Mood, a ballad, and Bugle Call Rag. I forget what the ballad was. Stardust, maybe? I forget. But we laid those down, and the intention was to have those 3 in the can and then get a live video shoot. And I think the video shoot was supposed to happen in mid-March. but COVID put a stop to that. So that's kind of on the shelf right now. But as soon as this breaks, the Doc Severinsen Tribute Band is going to be out there, hopefully playing festivals and colleges and things like that.
Oh man, that is so awesome. That's super cool. That's super cool. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I remember talking with Jay a little bit too, and I often wondered why, you know, why I choose Doc Severinsen. But then whenever he explained it, just like you did a little bit there, that everybody's done Maynard Ferguson, everyone's done people from the 30s and 40s. Names escape me a lot, but when he brought up Doc Severinsen, he was like, it's just something that hasn't been done quite yet. And there's quite a bit in that book itself. So I'm really excited for that. You'll definitely have to keep us all posted whenever that stuff starts happening again.
Yeah, and it was like the perfect storm. It came together because one of my absolute heroes back in high school was the great Ed Shaughnessy. And to be in his chair trying to replicate his parts, it's a challenge, but it's a challenge that I really appreciate because I'm really kind of getting into his head and trying to figure out why he did stuff on the drums, how he did stuff. So I don't play like him, but I'm trying to do a justified tribute to Ed Shaughnessy on the set.
Nah, that's cool. That's cool. Well, thanks, man. Let's keep moving on. So, Chris, again, you and I, we've known each other for quite some time, back to our old WVU days and stuff like that. And right now you're teaching in Jupiter, Florida. You teach, what is it? It's choir and just jazz band, or do you do another section of something else too?
Uh, no, it's been mostly just choir and jazz band. We've had a couple of guys come in and take the band over, and there were three of us full-time music teachers, and we were all dividing up things between band and choir, and then we brought in a fourth guy to do orchestra, but then we lost the original choir director, and then I was asked to do choir, and it's just things like that sometimes just kind of work out like that. And you were down there with me when all that kind of started to happen. But at any rate, yeah, I'm doing choir. I'm kind of the oddball here because I'm a band geek, and I've done all that band stuff, and started out with the intention of always doing band. And it's something that I was asked to do, and then became pretty good at with some help. And now I've had three of my groups go to the state level. Music performance assessments, and we've had two of those groups get state level superiors. So it's it's been a crazy experience to be able to do something like that when you're not in your comfort zone. It's hard enough to do it in your comfort zone, but then to step out of your comfort zone and do that, it's just been crazy. I also do the jazz ensemble too. So we bring people in sometimes like yourself, and we get help, and we have Alan Lamp come in occasionally, who is playing fourth bone in this group, and he's the neighboring band director right down the street. And my wife works with his color guard, and it's a small world, and so I've been able to stick with band doing that. For a few years, I was teaching down the street at a private music studio, and did that for a few years. I had a small studio there, and but I have a couple of small kids, they're elementary aged, and I decided that I needed to focus on them because they're only going to be this little for so long, and they started doing sports and stuff, and I started coaching little league, and so it's been crazy. And on top of that, I also am a cantor at one of the local Catholic churches, which I'm about to be very busy next week. So I've been very fortunate to have that gig as well. So just a lot of different experiences in the last 5 years that have really rounded out my musicianship a lot. It's been a really interesting experience.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's kind of the beauty though of being a music educator, or at least a musician in general, is that we might have one specific thing that we're like stupid good at, but the fact that we can kind of branch off and do all these extra side things that still contribute to that one specific thing that we're astronomically good at, it's kind of cool. I kind of like that. I mean, like you said, I've been down to your area a couple of times for some jazz stuff and whatnot, and it impresses me a lot to see that you are able to go from wearing your choir director hat, and then at the drop of a dime, which is the bells ringing for the next period, changing it over to a different hat, which is jazz director now. And it's like, okay, for me, I need a little bit of prep time in between, because right now I'm all gung ho about choir and like what we're doing with that. And to go from one thing to the next at the drop of a dime. I mean, again, my hat's off to you. When I taught general music, I was just lucky enough that I had enough coffee to get from one from one class to the next. I mean, those kids were bopping like crazy.
And it's been even crazier this year because we've had a lot of resignations in our district. It's a huge district in Palm Beach County, and so I'm going from fifth period choir, sixth period jazz, seventh period theater. So I'm doing theater. Yeah, the theater teacher, he resigned, and I was asked if I would take it over, and I said I'll do one. I'll do one. And so they threw a lot of the kids that could do it into that class, and I've been teaching Shakespeare and Greek, theater
And the Mandalorian.
Oedipus Rex, and obviously the Mandalorian that fits in there perfectly. And
course.
occasionally we'll throw in Hamilton or something like that to round it out. But we'll be doing a lot of musical theater in the next
Cool.
half of the year, which I'm always excited about. So
Cool. Thanks, man. And then, of course, last but not least, Mr. Glenn. So, Glenn, first time I met you, you were teaching at a school in Philadelphia as the, what is it, elementary middle school band director, if I'm not mistaken, and then
Yeah.
transitioned into your new role like a year or two ago.
It was actually 4 years ago
Was
that
it really 4?
that I made that jump. Yeah, so
Was
I
it
had
really 4?
It was really
Holy
4.
crap.
Yeah, we're in year 4 right now.
Whew.
So yeah, it was. I had a really interesting trajectory. I mean, I went to school up I'm a graduate of Mansfield University of Pennsylvania, which, if you're familiar, the state of Pennsylvania is all the way up north, almost up into New York. And when I came back to Philadelphia, where I'm originally right outside of Philadelphia, the network of musicians that I knew was fairly limited, and I was really fortunate in my first teaching gig to make a really strong connection with a lot of area Temple grads of my same kind of graduating year. And I think through some connections there, and actually I think through Sean, I got hooked up with you and the Croc band. And
Yeah, that's right.
It's
Yeah.
been, the rest is history. But yeah, I was really fortunate to land that gig at the Performing Arts School. It was trial by fire. I was a trombone player through and through, all through college, and a very confident guitar player, around a campfire.
As we can see, the guitarist hanging in the background.
Yes, unhealthy obsession with finding a few of those in local shops. So maybe a little bit more than a campfire guitar player, but that was really my only experience with strings. And this gig was all teaching strings. Everybody in the school took strings as like their special that they went to every day, every period. And there were between both elementary buildings, like 900 violin players. And it was honestly trial by fire. I referred to it a few times as like marching band with orchestra, just in terms of managing the humans. And it was one of the best learning experiences I've ever had, and one of the most creative places I've ever had the pleasure of working with, and the staff. It was really great. It afforded me a lot of opportunities and connections that I didn't necessarily get in my collegiate experience back here in the Philadelphia area when I returned. It was just like another proving ground for me that way. And transitioned, very selfishly to a commute of an hour and a half, trimmed that down into 15 minutes down the road back, teaching in an area neighboring district to Sean, and at the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade band and orchestra level. So I went from having about 600 students in my first gig, and now cut that in half again to about 300, which we're really grateful to have such a really supportive community that we teach in for the performing arts. And they're just awesome kids, and they work really hard, and they're enthusiastic, and just a real joy to work with every day. And I get to do both now, band and orchestra, at my current job. And so I get the best of both worlds. I really fell in love with beginning strings, and really immersed myself in a lot of the traditions of Suzuki teaching and that whole method, and really tried to take a lot of inspiration from that and bring it over into the beginning band world too. So we found a really nice landing spot for kind of a hybrid model. I know that
Sure.
phrase right now in the education world we run away from, but it's really a nice collaboration between band and orchestra for me as the single instrumental teacher at my school, it's just a fantastic thing for me to do, and it's afforded me a lot of other opportunities in my district to be involved in the creative arts. I'm involved in the theater program and our high school jazz program as well. So I get to see the kids at the beginning of their career and at the end. So it's a really neat way to see, how they work through our program. So it's been a really quite a ride in my first 8 years of teaching. Just so grateful to be surrounded by a lot of supportive colleagues and educators and musicians and community members and students. It's just a real blast. So I'm really grateful to be where I'm at this point. And who knows, 4 years from now, John, when we, in another blink of an eye, we'll be doing this again, probably for another project or something. But yeah, really grateful.
To be honest with you, I thought it was like a couple of years, like literally 2 years ago. I can't believe it's really been that long. Like, I can't believe my dog is now 6. It just kind of goes to show you how time just kind of flies by so fast. But you're actually, like you just said, you're in a unique position where you get to see the students start off at the very beginning. And then a couple of years later, they're at that middle point, but then they're just about to hit the brink of starting that final run of their academic career in the school system and stuff. That's really cool. Not a lot of educators get to experience that kind of a thing.
I think we all have a sense of where kids are going, but to be hands-on at both the beginning and the latter end of their musical career in our program is a really, really neat thing. It's it's a real treat, because you see them when they're parking and barking in the beginning band and orchestra room, and then they're really doing some real artistry at the middle and high school level. And it's neat to be able to play a small part in their journey.
Yeah, man. Go from park and bark to rip and roar. I like it. It's cool. It's cool. Next tune name, Rip and Roar. Anywho, so let's keep moving forward. So, everyone here has alluded to the fact that, yes, we are still in a pandemic right now, and there is some hope on the horizon. And we're not here to talk about any of that stuff. What we're really here to talk about is, what are you guys doing right now that's different than what you were doing before? I mean, over the last couple of episodes that we've had with our interviewees, everyone's talked about something a little bit different. I mean, I know for myself, like a lot of my private students, we've now switched back to virtual, where we're one-on-one. Kids submit recordings to me still, and we discuss what they've recorded. I send them stuff that I've recorded myself, and they kind of nitpick some things and say, well, I wouldn't have done this here. And they actually have to explain it. Now, granted, a lot of my private students I'm referring to are high schoolers who are looking to maybe go for a music minor, or at least those that are trying to do something musical after they graduate high school. So, I mean, the question to you guys is, what are you currently doing right now that's different compared to the average bear, or at least to what you were doing beforehand?
I'll jump in on that, honestly, because I'm just kind of immersed in that project right now.
Sure.
We decided at our entry level to kind of steer into the curve, for lack of a better term, and kind of embrace the experience that the students were having. And that, for a lot of our young musicians, they want to learn how to play an instrument, but also part of being in band and orchestra is the hang. It's really fun to be with your friends,
and get in class.
And that's really you said that, not me. However, it's you can't ignore that fact. So we've accepted that, and we also have to kind of embrace the situation that we're in, where our students are often solo at their house if we're doing virtual, and their experience right now is playing in a soloistic fashion. So we decided to make the best of that, and we're doing some student recitals. So rather than trying to kind of do a Brady Bunch style multi-video sort of thing, and that we're doing, which is fantastic. We have that experience in terms of what it's like to be in an ensemble. Sure. But for some of our beginning musicians, they've never had that point of reference. So I didn't think it was genuine to try to recreate that on a screen when they themselves weren't experiencing that. So we wanted to honor what their true experience was, and give them a chance to flex their musical muscles in a solo winter recital, that'll be, shared out with their friends, family, and community, and they'll have their individual links. They can trade it like a trading card, or share it with whomever they want to. And it's been a really neat way for us at the beginning level to focus on solo repertoire for the young musician, which we never get to talk about
No, we
at
usually
this
just
point in the
graze over
year.
top
Oh
of
my
that.
word. Yeah. So, at this point in the year, I'm running on extra large Wawa coffees, living lidless. And it's just absolutely IV of caffeine up until December 23rd. So this has been a really nice change of pace and a really nice opportunity to focus on the individual student and individual growth, and really accepting the terms of the deal that we're all in, and trying to really make that a positive thing. And it's been really well received. The kids get to choose, as we all did, when we were doing our recitals, at the collegiate level. We got to pick the rep. So the kids get to do that. Of course, there's a lot of guidance and hand holding to help them lead them to the right choices, but all at the end of the day, they get to decide what's included there. So it's a really neat way for them to have some investment in what we're doing as well. So yeah, I'm hoping it turns out really nicely. We actually, because of the timing of everything, we shifted the performances into January, which was another nice thing for us to be able to give them that extra breathing room, because we had a later start anyway. So it's a really nice thing to have that winter concert experience still in the winter time and get them performing for the community that way. We're looking forward to it. So that's where we're at right now in terms of how things are different.
That's cool. I like that. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I hope they dress up and do some really unique theatrical types of things. Let's put it that
Naturally,
way.
John, I had to jump in and join the fun, so I made my own example and definitely gave them a few videos for inspiration in their performance.
Which I think before this is all said and done, you should definitely drop that link in the chat. That I watched that today and I legit almost dropped my coffee cup today. I was like, oh my God, this is great. I started cackling up a storm. I was like, oh my, like it was awesome. It was super, super, super cool. And Murph, the man, he definitely made his presence known.
Yes, the dog definitely likes to make the presence known.
Well, cool. What about you other guys? What about you, Sean? What are your thoughts on this?
A lot of the stuff Glenn said, I would have to reiterate. What I think I've done is, what's the essence of keeping a 6th, 7th, or 8th grader in the band program? And I think of it kind of from a marketing standpoint too, because I could be there and I could be like, play this, record this, I'll evaluate it. But is that why 90% of them are there? No, they don't want to be evaluated. No. I think most of them are there for the hang. So it's taken me a while to make this digital format hangable, if that's a word. Like, what is the hang in the digital world? So I'm reflecting on my classes today. I had a 6th grade band with about 40 kids in it, I guess. And we started out, I just showed them the Blob Opera. You guys know the Blob Opera? Glenn, you know it? No?
I don't, but this is the most Sean Kennedy thing that you could possibly bring up at the moment.
On Google, you'll go down the rabbit hole too. You'll Google Blob Opera. Some dude made this thing where there's these fat little things and you can drag them up and they sing opera nonsense, So I told, and it shows you the pitches. So you're like, the guy's singing a C sharp, a D, or whatever. And I show them instantly. All 40 kids are like, what's the link? What is it? I said, all right, listen. I said, the first 5-ish minutes of class, I'm going to share the link. Everyone create a little opera thing and I'll share 5 of them or whatever. So, and we're hybrid. So I had like 15 kids in the room and the rest were at home. So I could hear them. They were going crazy. It was absolutely stupid. But I said, try to end on do, like whatever pitch you start on. So like I kind of hid some education in there. And
I'm on the site right now, by the way.
Yeah. We're going to lose Glenn. We're going to lose Glenn.
See you later.
So I showed them. They were going crazy. They said, what is it? So I put it, the platform we use is called Schoology. So I just stuck it in there. I said, show your parents, send everyone the link to your operas. Then we played, and we can't play winds and brass in the room where we are. So I said, everyone who's in school now is a drummer. And I have everything online. and we did, what was it? Trepak from Tchaikovsky, and it was in cut time. So I did a good 10, 12 minutes of actual teaching rhythm and playing. I said, if you're at home, play your horn. If you're here, hit it your desk, whatever. We played a little bit. And then for the last 10 minutes on Friday, I always tell them we're going to do nonsense quiz. So we had a quiz on Hello Kitty. And there you go. So it was kind of like, my whole thing from this marketing perspective is, how do I make them keep wanting to come back? So I can't do 40 minutes of just straight play this note, play this rhythm, because that they'll be gone. So I kind of stick it in the middle. We had Blob Opera, Hello Kitty, and right in the middle, I hope they learned something. So that's kind of what I'm trying to, because when I'm live, it's much easier, as we all know. So I'm trying to go, how do we make it hangable on the internet? And I think it's working because I haven't had attendance problems. I kept worrying about attrition, like, are we going to lose kids? Yesterday, 2 kids came down and they said they wanted to join band. So I'm like, all right, I don't know if it was Hello Kitty or my musical instruction, but either way, I'm going to keep going.
No, I like that. That's clever. That's really cool. I tried to do something with my high schooler where I had him pick out a song, at least this one, pick out a song that he wanted to transcribe. He couldn't come up with anything that he wanted to listen to. And then I gave him something. He was like, oh, wait, you mean I could pick like anything? I was like, well, typically the word anything means anything. I gave him a Dave Matthews tune and he was like, oh, this is kind of cool. It's not as cool as whatever else he decided. And then we went down a whole rabbit hole of what's cool and what's not cool, or what is hip and all that nonsense. But man, that's clever. I like that. I got to remember that. Hello Kitty does everything.
They have all sorts of, if you go to quizzes.com, sometimes on Fridays, they'll even say, what is our quiz on today? And they'll just start spamming the chat. And once it was about socks, cheese, like there's all these pre-made stupid quizzes. I'm like, all right, you're the king of socks, pal. But they go crazy because they can participate. They can see that Glenn is getting a higher than John. It's like, it's craziness that we would have in a live band setting.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a way to kind of bring back the entertainment factor, and it really is. You're on the money there, Sean. It is. At the end of the day, it's marketing. How do you get it? How do you sell it to the kids?
Because they don't have to be in my district anyway. They don't have to be in the
class. Yeah.
How do I make them want to be in the class? That's what I mentioned. How do I make them want to be there?
Yeah.
Once I figure that out, then I'll teach them something.
That's right. Get them in the door.
Yeah.
So say you do know PS5s and Xbox, whatever they are now, are available, right? That'll get them in the door. Easy.
That's a language I don't understand, friend.
But Blob Opera, you're right there. Understood.
There with Blob Opera.
Yeah, John, that actually reminds me because after concerts, we would usually bring the Nintendo Switch in and we'd have Super Smash Brothers competitions and Mario Kart. And, after our show in like May, we'd always watch, we'd watch Star Wars movies or something for May the 4th, things like that. I mean, those are the things that the kids really kind of remember. I mean, hopefully they remember what it was like to perform and learn and all that, and this year is just like anything we could do to make them happy. And, there's a lot of times where I'm like really wanting to teach them something very, specific and musical and amazing,
sure.
But they just want to like hang out and talk to each other and talk about
sure.
TikTok videos. And, and like they were saying before, I think it was Glenn was saying before, it's just like you got to let them mess around and play and talk to each other. And I always have like one kid in one of my classes who loves to present High School Musical, YouTube videos or something. Like she'll just like hijack things. But it makes them happy, like they've been out of school since March. And we're hybrid, and so I have a handful of kids in class and the rest are at home. And it's just like that camaraderie that we need to have. Usually right now, in choir land, we're performing everywhere, like every day or two. We do a lot of community outreach in December, and we can't do that right now. And what we've been doing is we've been recording with the kids that we do have. We've been recording videos And the plan is over the weekend to put all that together with some previous performances and send that out to all the groups, the retirement homes and assisted living and all those places that we usually go to. We're going to send it out to them,
That's
and
nice.
and they're going to maybe have a virtual concert. If they can't get together to watch it, hopefully they can watch it on their own in their rooms. But that's the kind of things we're trying to do right now. And um, we went to the office. We always go to our front office and sing for the staff. So we did that. We sang a few carols on Wednesday for the staff. And it's just so important to them. And people were crying, and I'm thinking, well, they're crying because it's so bad, but no, they're it means something to them. And those kind of things are really, really special. To answer your question, like, what are we doing differently?
Yeah, what are you guys doing differently right now?
So it's always like such a hard thing to find balance between performing and getting ready for performances and doing the other standards. And because performance has been so minimalized this year, I've been able to do a lot more with music theory and getting into like how really getting into how music works, and doing more listening examples and talking about like chord progressions and composing. We started using note flight, and we've been making compositions. Some of them are really, really not good, but it's a process. And then I've had kids that I've seen that have started this, and they're obsessed with composing now. And in my jazz, we were talking about 12-bar blues, as we always do, but now we're composing our own head to it.
Nice.
And harmonizing. We're talking like, why did these notes fit and these notes don't fit? Why can you do this? Why can't you do that? And we focused a lot on learning scales in different modes, and how that applies to improvisation. And because my jazz band is so much smaller this year in class, we've been able to think more about how music theory fits to improvisation and how it all works, and the compositional process. So that has been a positive with COVID, is being able to focus on things that aren't performance based, and really make sure that we give them a well-rounded experience.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit something on the head for me that I've often thought about, like whenever we come out of this pandemic. But I'm going to get to that in a moment. So what you're saying, because I want to piggyback real quick on that composition stuff. So what you're saying is, now the next time I come down there for one of our jazz hangs, there's going to be a whole lot of new compositions, and we're going to have like a whole composition clinic, right?
Okay.
Awesome. Honestly, I'm super excited about that, because that is also something that we don't get to talk about all the time. At least when I was still in the classroom, that we didn't get a chance to talk about all the time in the classroom. Yeah, we do like small little jingle fun things here and there in my general music classroom. But it was never anything to the point where you're at right now, actually talking about some of that theory stuff. So that's kind of cool that we're getting to, or at least you're getting to hit that type of a thing, so that's really, really hip. But the thing I wanted to hit on is that you had said that your choir performs for the staff every year. Like they sing a couple of Christmas carols and stuff like that for them every single year, right? And you guys got to do that again this year?
That's right.
And you had said that some of them started to cry and stuff like that, which makes me want to ask, like, how big of an emotional impact are we all looking at having whenever we get out of this pandemic? Like for myself, I'm kind of chomping at the bit right now. Like typically during this time of the year, well, this time last year with the Philly Croc Jazz Orchestra, we had at least 6 performances of the Nutcracker Suite, and we were planning on doing 6 more of those again this year. And I had a couple of other side projects, charity projects that I usually play for, and this, that, and the other to help give back to the Philadelphia community that I just couldn't get to do. And right now, I mean, Alana can attest to this. I come home after I'm done working for the day and stuff like that. Like I can't sit still because I got to be doing something. I either got to be playing. I either got to be playing with the dog. I either have to be, helping with dinner, or perhaps getting into trouble with the dog, which happens quite often. But beside the point, the more I keep thinking about this, whenever we come out of this situation, I'm wondering how many people are going to be overjoyed at the fact that the arts are back. I mean, maybe that's just me being super optimistic. I don't know. I could be wrong. I mean, what do you guys think on this?
No, I agree. I think what's the old phrase? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. You know, I think maybe some other folks out there realize how special live performance is. Someone is sick in my neighborhood here, in the next street over. So in the neighborhood Facebook group chat or whatever, someone said, "Hey, this guy's sick. Who would want to do Christmas carols for this guy? You know, in his back, go around to his backyard." There was at least 20, 25 people there, and we sang some Christmas carols for the guy.
Oh,
I think it's just, I think people want to commune and be together and create. And I think when this is over, I think it could be a great thing because Broadway's shut down now, but maybe everyone's so hungry for it, there's going to be a resurgence. Like, who knows? I don't know. That I hope, that that's what people want.
kind of similar to like the Roaring Twenties, and then afterwards it started to pick back up a lot more again.
Right. Yep.
Huh? I never thought of that. What do you guys think? I mean, open-ended question.
Yeah, I think that definitely the humor knows we're here. I don't feel forgotten about, and I certainly feel like as a listener and just a patron of the arts, I have felt more connected to some of the musicians that I follow because that's been the way I've been forced to go in and seek out some of their maybe digital content if they're able to do things along that line. And I certainly think when we're able to come back and do some things in person and have things return quote unquote to normal, that you're going to have a way more of appreciation for everything that we do. But I've also felt way more creative and have done way more collaborations through this phase of my life and our lives right now than I've done in a long time. It's a neat way, and it's people approaching with different projects, stuff that I would have never even thought of. Like, Sean, you're doing stuff with French horn groups, and that who would have even had the time to flex those creative muscles at that in a normal circumstance. Like, that's brought out so many awesome opportunities and really forced our creative hand that way. It's a again, there's no denying that this is horrible, but it's really forced us to think outside the box. And I think musicians are really good at being resourceful, and we scrape by in normal circumstances, and are figuring out ways to make ends meet. And I think those of us that are fortunate enough to be able to continue making music and connecting with others, that we're finding ways to do that. And so I felt fairly connected in a disconnected world right now, and that's brought me a lot of joy, and it's given me a lot of hope that when we get out of this, that there's going to be some nice relationships that are formed from these experiences that way.
For sure. I mean, one of the biggest fears that I have, and I mean, I agree with you both, but one of the biggest fears I have is that how many more venues are going to still be open when we get out of this? Which brings me to my next part of our whole interview segment is the charities. Now, typically what we do with our interview sessions are each month, each member in the interview session gets to choose a charity that's near and dear to their heart and promote it. And then myself and the rest of the band, we all promote that throughout the rest of the month, different charities, and start talking about that on social media. Because we are a not-for-profit, this is what we try to do to give back to the community. And in my case, what I'm promoting this month is I'm actually going to promote one of my favorite venues to play at with a big band and see a lot of big names too come through Philadelphia, is Chris's Jazz Cafe. They're hurting right now, just like everywhere else. And the biggest thing that I can say is that if you're able to, I highly encourage you to, pay like $5 or maybe $10 to watch a virtual online concert. Throw it on, put it on the big screen TV. It's fun. It's cool stuff. It's still right there. Yeah, you're not in person, and you don't get to go up to them afterwards and shake their hand and, embrace and say, dude, this was awesome. You were such a great vocalist, or you were an amazing instrumentalist. Now you get to actually send them a, private message and say, hey, this was awesome. It inspired me. Like, for example, Elliot Deutsch of the Pandemonium Big Band, solid writer. He came out with a really cool arrangement of the original tune that we're going to play tonight. But after talking with him, or sending him a message rather, through Facebook Messenger, he checked out one of our songs, De Niro de Sangre, messaged me back and said, this was great. This is awesome. We need to talk about stuff. And then he started a whole Facebook group about it. And then everyone started talking about what they're doing and how they're doing things different and giving each other ideas. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're able to watch something from a local jazz venue, or any venue for that matter, please do it. It helps out a lot. And then if you're still missing that connection to an actual musician or to the performers, just send them a message. We're all humans. Well, at least I hope we're all humans and not Zorgons or anything like that. But please send them a message. They respond back. If you have questions for us, same type of a thing. Anyway, let's go to you, Chris. What are you promoting tonight?
So there was a musician that I played with very early when I was 14, just getting started with jazz in a serious kind of way. And his name is Derick Kirk. And he took me under his wing. I took lessons with him. He drove me to gigs. We played in a big band all over the state of West Virginia together. And I hung out with the older guys. A lot of them were in college, or they were older professional musicians. And that gave me a lot of early experience with jazz and playing in a big band. Back in 2007, he was diagnosed with a serious form of cancer that they didn't know what to call. And by the time he was 28, he had passed away. And he was such a big influence on me and the community. And his mother, Lois, they decided to start a foundation called the Derick Kirk Foundation. It's a 501c3 public charity, and it's not a big charity, but what it does is focuses on helping high school musicians with college scholarships going into music in the local West Virginia area. So I'm supporting them with a monthly payment myself, and it's very close to me because he was such a huge influence on me, and I miss him dearly. And I haven't there hasn't been a time where I haven't thought about Derick and his influence on me, and how just such a great guy he was. And if you want to go on and donate, you can check it out. It's DerickKirk.org. There is another Derick Kirk Foundation out there, so don't get them confused. This is the .org, and they're also on Facebook. And so if you want to support some music students that are going into music in West Virginia, that's the place to go.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. Let's go to you next, Glenn.
So I think I saw a comment in the chat from Jerry, and it really struck a chord with me, no pun intended, that performers and people that musicians and everybody involved in the music industry and performing arts who do this for a full-time living, their world has been tremendously turned upside down. And when when you think of, John, the venues and everything that goes into that, stage hands, front of house, marketing, management, ushers, oftentimes the general public just knows that, their favorite artist isn't able to perform. But they don't necessarily think about everyone behind the scenes that's doing that. So I think that's important to acknowledge, that there are a variety of ways to support the performing arts in general that don't necessarily mean you're supporting the performer. And so before I jump into my specific charity tonight, I think that's just, hopefully we're able to plant that seed in this conversation that, there is a greater community of folks involved in the performing arts in general that, we may feel creatively connected, but, there's some real struggle there with even being able to pay the rent or put food on the table because the industry is shut down. So there's a real need for support there. both financially and just awareness. So I wanted to use that as an opportunity to bring that up.
For
But
sure.
the
I've got a friend in Pittsburgh, man. Like he's a full-time stagehand. He loads the acts in and acts out and stuff like that.
Sure.
David Weil, childhood friend, good drummer. He would load people in and out and stuff. The last time Elena and I we were out there, they had Jazz in July happening, and I texted him. I said, "Dave, I'm in town." And he's like, "Dude, you got to come check this out." I didn't even get a chance to say hi to him. Oh, well, I did. I was just like, "Hey, dude, how are you? Hey, nice to see you. Hey, I got to keep going." He was loading one set out and one set back in. And, we tend to think that, it just happens by magic sometimes as audience members, but there's a lot. You're right. There's a lot that goes in behind the scenes. And a lot of these guys and gals have had their worlds turned upside down and had to rethink, how can I put, food on the table and provide for my family and such. So no, thank you again for reminding us of that.
Yeah. So another group a little bit hits closer to home for me, only because they deal with music education and young musicians, is a group called Musicopia, and they're local Philly nonprofit that focus on getting instruments in the hands of kids who need them. And what I liked about this, especially in the season of giving and a time where our circumstances may not allow us to give financially, they allow donations of used instruments, like the one sitting behind me. I don't know, can't tell you the last time I touched this guitar, so I ought to donate it to Musicopia and get it in the hands of somebody that's actually going to use it. So I think they're a great organization that really get kids instruments and get them quality instruments that they're able to play and learn on. And it's a great start. I've been fortunate enough to be on the receiving end of instruments that were given to me. And this group does a great job of giving that in the greater Philadelphia region. So they're at musicopia.net. They accept all kinds of instruments. There's local drop-off points. Off the top of my head, I know the station at WRTI is a drop-off point. But if you check them out online, and you're not in a position to give financially, but you have, your kid's old, trumpet that's been sitting in the attic next to your Christmas tree for 20 years, get that out of there and get it into the hands of a kid that needs it. And they're a great, group to get that done for you. So Musicopia is the people I'm repping tonight, because I've been the direct recipient and my students have been the direct recipient of a lot of their good work.
That's awesome. Now, question, do they also take like sheet music or instrumental method books or anything like that for the students? Or
I don't know the specifics of that.
Okay, that's fair.
I'm sure they would definitely consider that in their own organization, or know someone that could certainly get that in the right hands, but I don't know specifically.
Absolutely. No, that's fair. That's fair. Cool. Thanks, man. And how about you, Sean? Who are you representing tonight?
Oh, Bugles Across America. It's a national foundation that provides live buglers for fallen service people. A good friend of mine, Bob Wagner, friend of a bunch of ours, he's the one who introduced it to me, because at some gig many years ago, I said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" or whatever. He goes, "I have to play a funeral." I'm like, "Oh, who is it?" And he goes, "I don't know." And then he explained to me what this thing is. If you can play taps on a trumpet or bugle or something similar, you sign up. There's a audition process and a vetting process. And then an email blast will go out and say, "There's a funeral at this location. You folks look like you're in driving distance. Who can do it?" So if Bob says, "I'll be there," then he goes and he would play taps for the family at the funeral. And it was caused by the military's lack of funding for live buglers. I don't know if any of you have seen that. But if you Google, I don't even know what the thing is called. It's a trumpet-looking thing. It looks like a flugelhorn, but it's an MP3 player. And they'll have a service, like an actual military personnel, attend the funeral, but they'll hold this flugelhorn-looking thing and hit a button, and it plays an MP3 recording of taps. And I went to a family member's funeral, and that thing was there. And I was so horrified. I'm like, if there's anything I can do to get live folks playing there, that's what I do. So I know Bob does a lot of work with them. And I've told my students, and the greatest thing, I know we're running up against the clock maybe, but one of the greatest lessons I ever taught, I think, is I told my eighth grade band at one point about this group, and I had the website on the big TV, and they could see it, and they kind of went away. About 2 months later, my lead trumpet player in the eighth grade band said, "Oh, I can't be at rehearsal Friday afternoon." I'm like, "All right, thanks for telling me. Why is that?" He goes, "I have to go to a funeral." And I'm like, "Whose funeral is it?" And he goes, "I don't know." He goes, "I signed up for Bugles Across America, and I'm playing for a fallen Coast Guard member. So my family's taking me to go play taps." I was like, wow, that that was just like one of the greatest things ever. An eighth grade kid was so moved by it that now he is in Bugles Across America. So that is the group. Check them out. It's a great group.
That's awesome. I remember distinctly Bob talking about that at a couple of rehearsals that I sat in with, and he was explaining that too. That's super cool. I had the I had to lay to rest one of my mentors a couple of years ago, and he was a military member, and we were fortunate enough that we had buglers there. I couldn't even imagine like an MP3 being played like that.
And if you hit YouTube, you'll be so horrified because they have fails at actual funerals. Like where the thing they hit go and it keeps like going ba ba dee ba ba dee ba. It's like really like it's horrendous. So the least I think that we could do is have a live bugler at the funeral. So that is my cause.
Cool. Well, thank you again for sharing. Well, so we got a lot of good causes tonight. Gentlemen, this was a great interview session. I had a lot of fun with you guys talking about stuff. Before we move over to the video premiere, which is supposed to hit in 3 minutes or less, is there anybody that's currently tuned in that's got any questions or any comments they wanted to add into anything like that? Now's the time to do so. Drop a message in the chat. We'll definitely see it. Oh, Jerry, how could I forget? I wanted to save this to the end. So, Sean, this question specifically for you. So, with the Doc Severinsen Band, it's all about the looks, right? So, are you going to grow out those mutton chops? Yeah, the mutton sideburn chops.
I've been working on my beard and mustache since middle school. What do you think? I don't know. No, I wish I could. I can't do it. Maybe I'll glue something on if we do a video. I don't know. And I'll get a
Starburns.
What was that? A turquoise, a big turquoise medallion.
There you go.
Starburns. Are you serious? Community, great show.
It is a great show. Well, okay. Well, if nobody else has any questions or anything like that, Elena, do you have anything to add for us?
I do not. Sorry, I'm like snuggled up here because it's cold. No, we are good to go. Everyone, if you aren't already following us on social, please do so. And I dropped the link to the YouTube video for your convenience in the chat.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Make sure you guys have your eyes closely knitted to the actual video premiere itself. You might notice somebody playing the sleigh bells on this one. So they did a great job of playing the sleigh bells. Anywho,
Sure.
John, I'd just like to say I'm really sorry for any intonation problems I had. The hat I was wearing was so tight on my head. As just really, it was tough.
Yeah, I think Travis could actually speak to that. But Travis is going to be speaking with us next month in January when we're going to be doing another tune of mine from a suite that I wrote many, many, many years ago, entitled Lil Fur. And more stories to come on that, I'm sure. But either way, friends, thank you all very much again. Please enjoy the video. The link is in the chat. If you want to head over to there to go check it out, that'd be awesome and superb. And if you want to come back here for a cheers at the end, that's cool too. If not, my name's John. We are the Accidental Big Band, and this was Behind the Stand. Thanks.